This is Animatronic-Artistry. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will theorize about the secrets of the mimic and what happened to Nedd Murray and Fiona Murray's creations. As always, my videos tend to be on the let's say weirder side, but I enjoy theorizing. I don't have the game's secrets of the mimic, so I have to rely on gameplay videos to analyze it fully. From what I've gathered, it seems that Nedd Murray's creations were being what I believe to be pirated. This could have been done by his employees, or perhaps just one employee, a genius mastermind who worked at Murray Costume Manor, MCM. The employees in question could potentially include William Afton, the owner of Afton Robotics. There's also Henry, who I believe may be the owner of Smiles and Servos Incorporated. He created Lefty, a rock star animatronic, but the wiki states that Henry was the original founder of Fazbear Entertainment. I'm unsure which claim is correct, so I will assume he owns Smiles and Servos Inc. Additionally, I am considering the unknown owners of Stan's Budgetech, as there are animatronics and costumes in Nedd Murray's workshop that resemble the mediocre melodies. Before all of this occurred, and before Afton Robotics and the other companies came into being, William, Henry, and the unknown owners of Stan's Budgetech were employees at Murray's Costume Manor. It's unclear if Henry stole any designs from them, but most likely not, since according to the logs in Secrets of the Mimic, Henry could have been a very loyal employee at MCM. However, this often doesn't make sense because William and Henry were the founders of Fredbear's Family Diner. At least Henry was. It's possible that instead of being an employee, Henry was a commissioner and contractor while William worked at MCM. This scenario leaves Henry as the sole owner of Fredbear's, and he might have teamed up with William after MCM closed. This collaboration could have occurred around the time William funded Afton Robotics, which continued to supply Fredbear's with parts to fix the animatronics. As I mentioned earlier, Henry was the original founder of Fazbear Entertainment, but it's unclear if Fazbear Entertainment, the owner of Freddy's and his band, existed at the same time as Fredbear's, or if Fredbear's was merely a test location and not part of a widespread chain like the Fazbear locations. This could also mean that Henry does not own Smiles and Servos Incorporated, but rather a company contracted by Fazbear Entertainment. It raises the question of whether they could have taken inspiration from Fiona Murray's designs. I'm not certain, but it's possible that they were just a regular robotics company that does commissions without officially owning the properties they create, similar to MCM, but with some differences. According to the Mediocre Melodies wiki page, the Mediocre Melodies were designed by Fiona Murray, the wife of Nedd Murray. The designs were allegedly stolen and later claimed by two employees who became the owners of Stan's Budgetech. Since the Mediocre Melodies were designed by Fiona, who is best known for her design of Chica the Chicken, this indicates a connection between the famous Chica and the Mediocre Melodies. Given that Chica was the first character, it is possible that the Mediocre Melodies were originally designed for the Chica's Party World brand, suggesting that they are quite old designs. Chica's Party World could have existed around the same time as Fredbear's Family Diner, and her role in Freddy's band is reminiscent of how Helen Henny was featured as a guest star in Chuck E. Cheese's. This implies that a similar situation may have occurred with Chica before her design was stolen and appropriated into Freddy's band. Fiona Murray is likely a designer rather than a robotics builder, and she has experience as a puppeteer. This background may suggest that the puppet character was created by Henry to protect Charlotte, while the design itself belongs to Fiona. Consequently, this points to a connection between the puppet, Chica, and the Mediocre Melodies. When David Murray, the son of Fiona and Nedd Murray, celebrated one of his birthdays, it was usually his parents who made the preparations and gifts for the occasion. Since a birthday party wouldn't be complete without friends, it's likely that some children attended David's party. Possible attendees could have included Charlotte and Sammy Emily, a young Michael Afton, and perhaps a baby crying child. This implies that David, Charlotte, Sammy, and young Michael Afton were likely friends. I did not mention Elizabeth Afton because she may not have been born yet. One of the animatronics and costume designs that has not been stolen by anyone is the Jackie design. As far as I know, some people speculate that Jackie represents the puppet's original design. However, it's quite obvious that the puppet and Jackie are completely different. You would expect them to be the same if Jackie's design had been stolen. My theory suggests that Jackie's design was, in fact, stolen and used by the mastermind, William Afton, to create the Circus Baby animatronic. This is why Jackie and Baby look so similar. The only other costume design, if it can be called that, it is the White Tiger, also known as Tiger Rock. This character is more of a manifestation than a costume, representing the ghostly persona of David. It's unclear where David obtained the tiger plushie, but it was most likely given to him by one of his parents or won as a prize. I suspect it may have been from a claw machine, perhaps at Fredbear's Family Diner, which could have been David's first encounter with a family entertainment restaurant featuring animatronics. From what I've gathered in the books, David Murray dies in a car accident. However, it's puzzling to consider how that could happen if the family lives in a manor on top of a hill, away from any roads. Perhaps it occurred near Fredbear's Family Diner, which was a common location at the time. This correlation suggests that David's death might be linked to Charlotte's death, as it is believed that Charlotte either died in a car accident or was involved with someone in a car. It's possible that William Afton, during his grand escape from the crime scene, may have accidentally hit David, or perhaps Charlotte and David were killed together. Alternatively, Charlotte might have witnessed David being hit, prompting William to take his anger out on her. The car incident also involves Susie, since her dog was hit by a car as well. This could potentially be William's car during his crime scene escape. So, back to the stolen MCM property. It seems that not all of the costume and animatronic designs were taken. Only Fiona's designs appear to be taken. It's possible that after her death, her designs were seen as easy targets since she wasn't around to protect it. She may have designed Jackie. Her designs seem to be less monstrous than Edwin's, suggesting that most of the other mascots found in Secrets of the Mimic were likely designed by her. According to one of the recordings, Fiona was needed at the Fall Fest to assist the crew for a week. If you played the game, you'll know that she likely dies at the Fall Fest. The circumstances of her death are unknown, but it could be related to the Fall Fest fire. Speaking of the Fall Fest, Carney was an animatronic character associated with the event. This indicates that Smiles and Servos Incorporated is older than we initially thought, and Carney could have been a prototype for the Rockstar class of animatronics. Additionally, Fiona might have designed Nedd Bear as an early prototype for Fred Bear before the final character design and name were decided. It's possible that the two MCM employees who later founded Stan's Budget Tech stole these prototype designs, thinking they wouldn't be significant since they were early drafts and not the final official character designs. Nedd Bear could likely be considered the original Fred Bear, especially since we have never seen any blueprints for Fred Bear as far as I know. We have only encountered his spring lock suit, which was just a prototype. The reason Nedd Bear never appeared or was referenced in the game could be that he is an early design of Fred Bear that doesn't have a physical character model yet, which predated his appearance in Five Nights at Freddy's 6. I mention Nedd Bear not only because he's my channel mascot and my favorite character, but also because he could be an early draft of the famous Fred Bear. The name Nedd bears resemblance to an earlier iteration of a character, as it connects to Edwin's name. Fiona often refers to Edwin as Ed, and since Ed contains two D's, it parallels the name Nedd, which includes Ed. Therefore, we can view Nedd as essentially a very early version of Fred Bear. Alternatively, Nedd Bear might be a fun personal design reflecting a collaboration between the couple. If that's the case, it could imply that Nedd is Fred Bear's father, making him much older than we previously thought. Since Fiona designed the mediocre melodies, we can conclude that Nedd Bear is not a ripoff of Fred Bear, but rather the father of Fred Bear and the grandfather of Freddy. Fred Bear is often considered the predecessor or father to Freddy. This idea aligns with something I mentioned in one of my previous videos. Glamrock Freddy's color palette strangely resembles that of Nedd Bear. This similarity could suggest that the reason Scott or Steelwool chose this color palette for Glamrock Freddy is to hint at a deeper connection between Nedd and Freddy than we initially realized. Now, let's talk about my favorite mascots from Secrets of the Mimic. While I enjoy the famous characters like Jackie the Jack-in-the-Box, Nurse Dolly, and Big Top the Music Man, I have a fondness for some of the more mediocre ones. Out of all the mascots I've seen, I particularly like the yellow elephant. Sleepy Moon is another standout for me. It's the first moon variant I've liked, as I've never been a fan of Sun and Moon from Security Breach. Other favorites include Sharpay the Poodle, Partytime Chica, Hedgehog Hudgy, Swing Bee, Jess the Court Jester Rodent, which I absolutely adore, and the Birthday Puppy, a cute large hound that I really love. The characters I mentioned are mascots from various restaurants and brands. For example, Jess the Court Jester Rodent is a cereal mascot. Determining their gender can be challenging since they are just costumes worn by the mimic while hunting Arnold, the player. However, I enjoy theorizing about what I believe their genders might be. Sleepy Moon is male, Swing Bee is female, and Partytime Chica is obviously female. Sharpay is also female, while Hedgehog Hudgy is male. Although Birthday Puppy has eyelashes, I perceive it as male. Jess the Court Jester Rodent is male as well. The elephants are a topic of debate. However, since all the elephants, including the yellow one that I particularly like, have eyelashes, I will assume they are male. However, there is a pink elephant, and that one, even though it's just a recolor, I consider that one female. Other characters that I like, besides the non-mascot Sue characters, is Captain Springlock, also known as Pirate Captain. And no, he's not a lion. He's actually a dog. I also like Bub the dog, who is theorized to be Sparky the dog from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, although they are different. Since the mascots I mentioned are from other brands, it is assumed that they are part of the Mediocre Melodies crew, as not much is known about them aside from their appearances in the game. As well as being part of the original Five Nights at Freddy's one class of animatronics, next to Monty. Bub is a female dog Springlock suit. I find that very interesting. Both Monty and Bub could have been removed from the classic band due to the multiple incidents involving Springlock suits. I don't feel that bad for Monty since we got him years later in Security Breach, but poor Bub was never used again after that. She became obsolete. It makes me feel a little sad, but I'm sure that there will be a game later that will feature her again, but we just have to see. Well, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you. I have been your mediocre host, Animatronic Artistry, signing out.